Welcome back to another episode of That Mortgage Show. We got some special guests today.
You said That Morgan Show?
That Mortgage Show. It should be That Morgan Show.
Yeah, now we're going to have to change the name to That Morgan Show and explain why to every guest.
So we'll get into some mortgage rates. We'll get into the inflation report that came out this week, look at some mortgage activity, and then we'll just chit-chat with Heather and Morgan and see where that goes. Sound good?
Beautiful. We're excited.
It's going to be a good one. I can feel it.
So let me bore you all for a minute as we get into a little bit of a mortgage rate update. As lenders, it's just like required. We have to update you on the mortgage rates.
Because the first question everybody asks is, what's your rate?
Yeah.
What's your rate?
Everybody asks. They just want to know our rate. So it's been truly a roller coaster. A lot of people say roller coaster. It's been a roller coaster. Last Friday into early this week, we saw mortgage rates rise to their highest levels in 8 months.
Crazy.
Yeah, triggered by a hotter than anticipated jobs report. The 10-year Treasury bill, which
2 hours later.
It's exciting stuff. Girls, I know it feels like drinking from a fire hose. Okay?
Sometimes it does,
So,
yeah.
I'm telling you what, especially when Ab gets down into the weeds with the numbers and the inflation and all that, but it'll come full circle. It'll make sense in a minute.
I get
But
it.
sometimes he loses me along the way, so just
Okay,
hang on tight.
So hang in there. So the Federal Reserve is saying we're not going to cut rates in 2025 because of inflation. Wednesday, the CPI report comes out. It reveals that, core CPI slower than anticipated. Year-over-year inflation was also slightly below expectations. Easing of the inflation concerns.
Today, Junior?
People are worried. People are excited.
Right.
It's a whole lot of information. Al, bring it into like a practical sense for us.
Yeah, volatile. A lot of volatility. I have no idea. We don't have our crystal ball. We have no idea where rates are going. It changes day to day. It changes week to week. But, one of the things that kind of strikes me is that a couple weeks ago, Waller was saying, there was a little bit of uncertainty about the amount of rate cuts that were going to happen in 2025. Now there seems like a lot more optimism. Right. Whenever some new data comes out, it could go either way. Right. So I think the biggest thing is hang on tight. We have no idea. Like Adam said, T-bill was pushing up high, the highest it had been in 2 years, which we know means interest rates are following. So rates were up at 7.25%, I think, when we did our show last week. And this is the average conventional 30-year fixed rate, now hovering around 7% since this news came out. I mean, it's up and down. I think what it comes down to is the rate should never dictate whether or not you move on buying a house, because they're really not going to fluctuate that much. You're talking about 0.25%. And the rise in home values is going to make a hell of a lot more difference in your monthly payment than any interest rate change is going to make. You know what I'm saying, girls?
Yeah, you guys have any input? What do you think? From your perspective, are people giving you grief about rates, or are they even bringing it up when you're talking to buyers?
I feel like rates are going to be something you're going to hear regardless of where the rate is at. Even back during COVID, it was 4.5% and people are still waiting for 3s. I think at the end of the day, if you're ready to buy, there's a lot of things we can talk about. And to Al's point, especially for appreciation, in West Palm this past year, it was 4.7 appreciation when it's typically around 3s. So, I mean, what's the difference on a $500,000 house for 1.7% increase as opposed to 0.25% increase on your mortgage? I'm curious.
Yeah.
So as far as mortgage payment goes?
Yeah, like how would that
that's a good question.
real time?
If someone were to wait and buy a house at a 4.7% hike?
Yeah, like what would the difference be on, just for a round figure, a $500,000 house with a 0.25% increase or a 0.5% increase versus the appreciation that you would make over the year?
Yeah. So 4% of 5 is 20, right? So 500,000, 7. What's the principal and interest on that, Al?
500,000 at 7%. P&I, you're looking at, this is for a $500,000 loan.
Yeah.
You're looking at $3,326, $3,326.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And then let's go 520.
It's at 5 or at 675.
Okay.
3326. Hang in there.
We're holding. We're holding.
Hold tight. This is the kind of stuff that we do while we're on the phone with borrowers all the time.
It's great. We love it.
Try to paint the picture.
You guys are lucky that my financial calculator's batteries are from the 90s, and
He loves his 90s financial calculator. I'm an Excel spreadsheet guy.
Oh, that's
Wow. That's pretty old school there.
So are we talking about a $520,000 loan at 6.75?
yeah.
3372.
okay.
So at the worst, it's comparable,
Right.
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
and you're buying a house at a higher price. So
Exactly.
with the thing that you are taking out of the equation is the fact that if you do buy now, let's say your payment's going to be either be cheaper now or comparable, but the difference is you're in your house and you have
Well, the difference is $20,000, right? You're saving $40 a month, but it's costing you $20,000. Doesn't
Right.
really
What's
make
the
sense.
equity? What's our
right?
long-term position with
So you
this?
get somebody offers you $20,000 right up front, or somebody offers you $45 a month, right? And chances are you're going to refinance this thing within the next 5 years anyway.
Right.
So I mean, it's not really a comparison. You're definitely going to take that $20,000. It makes sense to
Right.
get in the house now, take the equity, then wait a year to get an extra $45 a month,
Exactly.
which gives you what, $540 in a
Right.
year. So it's not a very good trade-off.
Yeah.
Great question.
Thank
Love
you.
that.
I have one more. So we're talking right now, jobs reports, things of that nature. Last year, I remember when we were around New Year's time, it was the year of fives, right? We were going to have 5 times the inventory, and then we were going to hit interest rates in the fives, things of that nature. I know that this report that you just showed us said that they were looking to cut rates, but we didn't see anywhere near where we were expecting to last year. How do you feel that that's going to play into this year?
As far as the Federal Reserve cutting rates, it's funny because they've been cutting since September and interest rates have gone up since September. So the Federal Reserve cutting rates, it's definitely what we want. It's kind of frustrating from our end because the Federal Reserve cut rates and rates went up. The Federal Reserve said they weren't going to cut rates and rates went up.
Right.
So it's like, what do you root for? What do you hope for? The best that I can say is the agencies that do predict these things all have interest rates falling around 6.5% this year for an average, which last year they averaged something like 6.6, and the year before that they were like 6.8 on average. So like a whole lot of nothing.
It's not enough movement to hold out for a better day, right?
Right.
It's not enough movement to hold out for a sunny day. We'll put it that way. And the Fed, the Fed's cutting the Fed funds rate, which is going to impact a lot of things like your consumer interest rates and your credit cards and your auto loans and things like that. But it'll have an indirect impact on mortgage rates. But when they cut the rates, you have, I'll have prior borrowers or folks that have done a pre-approval for reach out and be like, hey, they cut the interest rates. It's got to be lower, right? It's like, no, that's not the case. It's not more. They didn't cut mortgage interest rates. You
Right.
know what I mean? So
Right.
a lot of times folks don't understand the difference there. And the data that Adam's talking about is really the big driver of what is going to happen with mortgage interest rates.
Yeah.
So
So we'll get back on track with the show here. And I have one last thing statistic wise, and then we'll get into more like a conversational. So we'll take a look at mortgage applications and this graph here. So the reason that we always bring up mortgage applications is it's relevant. I mean, if people are out there doing stuff, you can get an idea of buyer engagement, and if you're a seller, if you can expect to have a bunch of people at your open house or offering on the home. So give me a second here and pull up my notes.
let's get the notes. We're on the edge of our seat, Ab, waiting for your words.
So U.S. mortgage applications jumped 33.3% for the week ending January 10th. This was the largest increase since 2020. Despite rates rising to 7% last week. Refinance applications also surged, while purchase applications made up 26.9% or surged 26.9%. Seemed like buyers were rushing in to lock interest rates amid fears of rates going up. So this graph here, it's the perfect visual of how volatile mortgage applications have been. And it shows you how extreme the consumer is with I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. So you can see here, you can just see it jumps up about 10%, jumps down about 10%.
Very volatile for a couple weeks here. But when rates are going up, you don't tend to see mortgage applications go up,
Do
right?
you
Especially not on the refinance side by that much.
Do
You know
you
what I
think that
mean?
the reason has to do with people getting back into the market now that elections are done and things of that nature?
It's a great point. Adam and I kind of talked about this a little bit, because it's such a conundrum that it would go, that they would go up so much
Right.
in a rising rate environment. I'm sure it's a couple of different reasons. I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you see it on the purchase side, things jump up. And I mean, right now is definitely a little bit early in the season, but as we head into the spring, we know the market tends to heat up over the next couple of months. But on the refinance side, that's what's a little crazy, because you think that, everybody's holding out for the lower interest rates when they're looking
Right.
to refinance and,
Right.
get cash out. And obviously they're not going to lower their interest rate right now, but in terms of like accessing the equity to get cash out or, do some home improvements or get money to put their kid in college, whatever the case may be, that's what's a little crazy, that bump, that 46% bump in refinances.
So that's a great question also, Heather. And I think what you're referencing is the Trump bump.
Right.
Is the Trump bump real?
Bringing us back
Good
around.
segue.
Our last screen share, our last official screen share of the day it's
You got a surprise screen share coming?
I got a
I
surprise
don't want
screen
to spoil
share.
it.
So we've got Palm Beach Mansion near Mar-a-Lago lists for $18.95 million amid post-election Trump bump. It's like the King's Landing. That's your headline. You ladies, will use this as a segue to just let you kind of take the floor. You guys work your office is in Palm Beach Gardens, right? West Palm Beach is what, 20 minutes south?
Yeah, I live in West Palm Beach, so I have a good amount of business there, and then Palm Beach Gardens as well.
And the high-end real estate market following Trump's election, the Trump bump is real in your area for sure. The area has seen 400% increase in homes priced at 10 million or more under contract,
Right.
with a 612% increase in sales volume year over year. And these 612% increase and 400% increase, those are big numbers, but is it up from zero? Is it up from, what's it up from? Nonetheless, those price tags are jarring and insane. So what's it like being a real estate agent in these crazy markets?
You want to start off?
You get started off.
Okay. So first and foremost, as for the Trump bump, I think it's really funny that you said that, because even just in prepping for the show, I was seeing a lot about how there's going to be a huge tourist bump in the area due to Trump's reelection, all of this. And there's a lot of development and things of that nature coming into the area by way of price point and the Lux markets. I mean, we have a listing on our team down in Deerfield Beach. It's not at 25 million, but it is in the million marks. And seeing properties like this and what the clients have to say coming through in comparison to $10 million properties, it's astounding. It is.
Yeah, it's crazy. And the people, like the real estate agents listing these houses and the real estate agents working with the buyers of these houses are they're just people,
Right.
and that's a market that you guys can definitely break into.
Yeah, definitely. I think as well, too, with Trump obviously being our next president, I think there's definitely going to be a rise of people wanting to move to Florida for that aspect. And I've seen also a big rise with people living in New York
Right.
wanting to move to Florida as well. So probably some, political correlation within that. But I think that's definitely going to impact our market in a positive way.
Yeah.
I think in general,
That's a great point.
There's a ton of people. The number one demographic for people moving to West Palm right now is straight out of New York City. But again, you're also seeing California, you're seeing New York, etc. These are places with extremely high taxes. We don't have state income tax. There are so many reasons for it. And especially with Trump, I think it's just another reason to bring people out.
Yeah. Now, what do you think about do you think that like hurricanes and some of that is going to offset that at all?
Yes and no. First and foremost, I think we're already kind of moving things around. Things are already changing in light of those happenings, right? So the condo risk assessment changes. Any condo building with more than 2 stories now has to completely do a risk reserve study and keep 100% of the funds to amend anything that were to go wrong in their reserves. currently most condo associations only keep about 25 to 30% of the reserve. So we're seeing it real time change on that level. We're also seeing tax season being pushed back for Florida residents this year by a month. Again, because of everything that has happened, hurricanes, tornadoes, etc., and trying to give them room to come into that. I think we'll see more, obviously, on the East Coast by way of positive movement. My concern would probably be that by the Gulf of Mexico, the Western Shore is going to have a little bit slower sales this year. From what I've just kind of looked at statistically, it's not moving as quickly, and there aren't as many people apt to move to that side. Have you guys experienced similar?
We'll see what happens when it's renamed to the Gulf of America. Maybe the hurricanes won't come this way.
Maybe a lot more people be lining up to live on the Gulf of America.
Right.
So, no, you're totally right. The West Coast is getting a bad rap. I think it's just luck of the draw. Morgan, you're a lifer, right? Floridian, true and true. So I'm a transplant, and but I think it's probably just like luck of the draw that the last couple of years the West Coast has been getting crushed. The East Coast certainly gets hurricanes, right?
Right.
Well, so I mean, this past, I want to say September, there were those hurricanes and tornadoes hitting in Port St. Lucie, and I'm pretty sure Melbourne, a little north of Port St. Lucie, but there was some pretty severe destruction with a couple of homes. Also in Palm City, there were a couple of communities that got pretty badly hit as well. So
even when we were driving through the new construction, they were still working to fix all the roofing and everything.
Right, exactly. So, that's obviously going to set a lot of things back, especially with new construction, because they're obviously putting a lot of money down. There's a lot of risk with that. So it's going to probably take a little longer to get ahead of these new developments, but I don't think it's going to be too severe of an impact, just because it wasn't as bad as the West Coast regarding the hurricanes and tornadoes, but all in all, I think it's going to set back a little bit of a delay.
So our markets are, or I should say your markets are resilient, and I think that's a good opportunity to jump into, like, we'll get some like a hyper local look at the markets that you guys serve. So
yeah, sounds great.
I've got Palm City pulled up here. So Morgan, let's see. Take it away. We're going to go over some statistics for Palm City. Morgan, what do you got?
Perfect. All right. So as you can see here, regarding 2024, there were 286 closed sales, and that had a 13.9% increase compared to 2023, which is obviously great. Regarding Palm City, I know within this past year, there's been a bunch of new construction and infrastructure. There's actually a community called Newfield, which is going to be in Palm City off of Cypress. With Newfield, it's actually a master planned community designed with a focus on sustainability, outdoor living, and community engagement.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it's so.
And the builder actually is I live in one of their homes in a different community, Mattamy Homes, right? It's Mattamy, right? They do a really good job.
Mattamy's definitely killing it in South Florida. So yeah, I'm very excited about this. I think it's definitely going to impact the market for 2025. Just hearing from different people, it's like very hot spot. People are wanting to move here just because it's so different compared to other communities. It emphasizes on green space preservation, with over half of an area dedicated to trails, parks, and natural landscapes. So I think that will definitely have a great positive impact on our market. But getting back to these statistics, as you can see with our median sales price, so it was at 759 or around 759,000. And for our average sales price, it was 919,000. So, with the median sales price, there was a little of a negative % change, but with the average sales price, there was a slight increase. But yeah, so I think regarding, 2025, it's not going to be too much of a difference regarding what we're seeing here. Again, I think that Newfield is definitely going to have an impact, but just with interest rates, as you guys were saying, we're probably not going to see a drastic change with that, but you never know. It's super up in the air. But yeah, so
volatility, baby.
And
then volatility,
right,
but I think people are going to buy regardless. They're getting to the point now where the benefits of earning equity is so much higher than waiting for a lower rate.
Right,
So-
exactly. And what you were talking about before too, just you were asking us, with people that we're talking about, like potential leads or clients, like how are they viewing the market and, what are their thoughts? And I've definitely seen from my point of view that people have preconceptions and, they're falling along the false side. And, I always advocate to speak to a lender no matter what, even if you're not maybe like,
ready at this second.
Like you don't need to necessarily be pre-approved, but it's having that knowledge because knowledge is power, and you want to make the right decisions. Like buying a house is probably going to be one of the most important financial decisions you're going to make. And so I think people have this misconception where it's like, oh, if interest rates lowered, this is my time to shine. But when in reality, it's going to be more of a competitive market. You're not going to have the time leniency that you would now because, open houses are going to be packed, like there's going to be multiple offers. So
Lots of competition.
I think it's just relaying that information to people, being like, interest rates matter, but I think, your perspective on it is, it's your perspective, but at the same time,
Gotta live somewhere.
Right. Like speaking to a lender can really change your opinion on it. And it could change your timeline. So
I gotta say, I could not have said that better myself, Morgan. And just a quick disclaimer, we did not pay or ask Morgan to say that. That is just straight from the heart.
Right.
And I love every bit of it. So thank you,
the
Morgan.
dream work, of course. I mean, I feel like that's what it's all about. Like we all try and help each other at some point.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, so like, and until you actually like pull the curtain back, it's just it's just a hope or a dream or a thought. Whether you're somebody who's like, I would love to live in a beach town. We got plenty of beach towns here in Florida, and we can help you live in a beach town, and it can be a reality. But it takes action. It doesn't take just like
wishing about it. Right?
Yeah, it's not going to happen that way. So it takes a team, and we've got some processes in place. But Martin County, Palm City, definitely resilient.
Yeah.
What about Heather?
Palm Beach Gardens, West Palm. We're going to see here that obviously our numbers have gone down a little bit from 2024 to 2023, right? It's not moving as quickly. We're seeing longer days on market. We are still seeing positive appreciation here, but with that, things aren't moving as much. We do have more inventory at this time. So especially right now, while we're waiting for hopefully these interest rates to drop, I'm really trying to urge any clients I have looking to get in now, especially with an average of 80 plus days on market. We have the room to ask for buyer agency compensation. We have the room to ask for, seller concessions so that way they can buy out their lease or whatever that looks like. We're just seeing a lot more room for negotiations here, and we are able to play with these numbers, which isn't something we were able to see in the market 3-4 years ago. And I'm concerned that especially when interest rates come down, we're going to lose that ability. I don't think fully, but it's definitely going to decrease in comparison to the market and the interest rates going down as well.
Yeah. So the more inventory,
Right.
and the longer the time on the market,
Right.
what does that tell you when you're representing a buyer?
If there's more inventory and then there are longer days on market, it is really more trending towards a buyer's market, right? When you have 3 to 9 days on market as your average, that's telling you that they're probably getting multiple offers and that the price is being driven up by the competition, right? So in that, when we don't have any competition and the home has already been on the market for 60 days, we don't know where the seller's at. Maybe they're a veteran and they have orders to move somewhere else and they need to make this happen right now. What does that cost to you, right? Is that 20 grand off the list price? Is that you paying all of our closing costs? What is that? But we do have that leverage and that room to negotiate with the sellers and their agents to make sure that everyone involved is happy to move forward. So I've seen smoother transactions in that because we have that leverage.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're definitely seeing some leverage back for buyers,
Right.
which is great. And it could disappear. We all want rates to go down, but that leverage could disappear if rates come down for two reasons. One, more buyers are going to get in the market. Two, more home sellers are going to be more incentivized to sell and willing to leave their low rate.
Right.
and you
Yeah.
know, so
We get back to that 2021 cutthroat market. You know what I mean? Where you can't
Right.
negotiate a damn thing. You're just, I
No.
mean, you're
You're
cutting
waiting
things
your
out of the
way
contract.
to terminate your contract after inspection. No matter what you find, we're putting
Yeah.
$50,000 in appraisal gap contingencies, et cetera, et cetera. And it was crazy. But even this past week, I was submitting an offer with a client on a property in Palm Beach Gardens, funnily enough. And at that price point, right over $1 million, the difference between the list price versus the sold price was on average a little over 175,000. So especially at a property that's listed at $1 million, that's almost 20%. Like that's a good amount of leeway to have. And people are accepting these offers. These are closed deals. So I think it's really encouraging, regardless of the price point you're in. We're seeing a lot of movement. And I think where there's a will, there's a way. We can make it happen.
100%.
So just getting people approved, getting people into the market, getting them submitting offers. I think a lot of people have hesitance to submit something that's not in the exact same price point. But at the end of the day, I always advise, this is a starting place. Let's negotiate it out. We're going to get you the best deal possible. And we've had a lot of success thus far.
Right.
Yeah.
Morgan, back to your market a little bit. So you live there and you work there. So what's it like? What is the let's transition more to the vibe check.
Yeah.
Let's do a vibe check. Let's do a vibe check. What's the vibe like? What's the vibe like living in Palm City, Stewart, whatever you want to call it?
Yeah, so
Queen of Stewart.
I don't want to be biased, but I kind of am, obviously. But I love Martin County. So I actually grew up in Jupiter, Florida. So I can say that regarding the comparison, I feel like Palm Beach County is you're definitely seeing more traffic with people. Like regarding Martin County, I would say it's charming, a family friendly community. It's peaceful suburban atmosphere. It's situated along the St. Lucie River, and it offers, a mix of waterfront properties, golf communities. There's top rated schools, easy access to beaches, but you're not necessarily in a beach town.
Right.
So you're seeing that the price of homes aren't necessarily the same, because obviously if you're closer to the water, if you have beach access, you're going to see prices raised. But if you're in Palm City, that's like a 15-20 minute drive to the beach. So I think that's like a fair win.
Yeah.
I mean, I would recommend Palm City or Stewart or, even Jensen Beach to someone that maybe wants to be somewhere a little more relaxed, like laid back, not so much of a city vibe. I would say it's definitely more families. I wouldn't say there's a huge younger demographic, like 20, 25. That would probably be more in Port St. Lucie, or like even South and West Palm Beach. But honestly, I just think it's a great place to be. You get the best of both worlds, where you're somewhere where you can relax. You don't have to stress about all of the commotion going on in the town, like new infrastructure, like right. is this going to affect my day-to-day life? Like it's very slow process of, what they want Palm City or towns in Martin County to someday become. So that's what I really like about it. It's laid back. That's the way I can put it.
And I think especially for people coming up north, it's a lot easier of a sell taking them from Broward or Palm Beach into Martin County than it is St. Lucie County.
Yeah. Do you guys talk to people all the time? Is there still that migration happening, moving from south to north in Florida, like Florida to Florida?
Yeah, from what I am seeing,
100%. I'm actually working with a lead right now, and he lives in West Palm Beach, and he's looking to move to Martin County because he wants something more laid back. He wants something more relaxed. He's done with, traffic at certain times or whatever. Like West Palm and South Florida or more south is a great place to live, obviously, but I think there's also certain reasons why it's great. And sometimes someone's lifestyle doesn't fit those necessary reasons, so that's why they find themselves in Martin County. And especially too, we're seeing a lot of 55 and over communities going up in there, especially in Tradition and Port St. Lucie. So I think as well, as we were talking about people migrating from New York to Florida, I think we're going to definitely see a big increase with, as we call them, the snowbirds,
Right.
which we love. We're definitely going to see a big migration there as well.
And
Cool.
I think in addition to that too, I'm getting a lot of clients that, whether it's because they want to use it as a short-term rental when they're not there or whatever the case may be, HOAs and rental restrictions and things like that have started to become sort of an issue, especially as you're moving a little bit further north.
Good point.
You're going to notice that there are more properties in a competitive price point that don't have HOAs. So for clients looking at that, I have had to move it a county up for the search in order for them to see properties that they're interested in.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. You're definitely seeing once you travel to
Yeah.
Martin County, there's either no HOA or it's lower fees with HOA. Whereas, in Palm Beach County, you're seeing like $1,000, $1,400 for your HOA,
Right.
and understandably,
And you're
right.
finding very few
Right.
properties without an HOA, especially single families.
Right, and
So.
Yeah.
$1,400, and it's covering a couple of things. So it's like, I mean, if you have the money
Right.
for it, then so
Right.
be it. But a lot of people don't have that extra income to just throw at their HOA for that.
Yeah. And forget about it. And maybe we'll have you guys back sometime soon to go into condos, because we didn't even get into condos and like the
Right.
association fees. Like you touched on the special assessments. That's great because they'll be covered if anything happens, but it is an added cost.
Exactly.
And it can disqualify some people real quick.
That's the issue that we have, is qualifying somebody when these HOAs get, that high.
Right.
It's
And
a
it can be-
pretty significant bump in the monthly
Right.
payment.
It can be difficult for us to nailing down someone's purchasing power
Right.
when they're looking at a house that doesn't have an HOA, a $400,000 house that doesn't have an HOA, and then they go see a $400,000 house that has a $1,000 a month HOA.
Exactly.
So it's like, it's not one size fits all.
Mm.
It's definitely like you got to be involved
Right.
with your agent and your lender.
Yeah.
So last thing I want to wrap up with is, can you each concisely give us an insight as to how it is to work at BluEdge Residential, what it's like, how you feel about it, and just like a little bit of the culture there.
Okay. When you say
And whoever goes, make sure you're 100% in the picture. Make sure you're
Okay.
all the way in the picture. Whoever's
when you
going
say
first.
concise, how long is concise? Is that a sentence or?
Do your best.
Do your best. Yeah. Whatever you feel comfortable with.
So BluEdge is not my first entrance into the real estate space. I've worked at very large brokerages. I've worked with Berkshire Hathaway. I've worked with EXP, etc. I'm very much so cherishing the brokerage and the team, because not only is it 10, 15 people in one office, and if I need help or an answer or anything like that, I immediately have the resources at my fingertips. But because it's a smaller brokerage, it is much more intimate, and the relationships are already there, and the want to create relationships within and make sure that I've gotten connected with Alex and I can ask him any questions, and the same with you, Adam, and Jerry, our attorney, and just, I think the resources at our fingertips and the enablement to go do what we need to do at a high functioning level is far and above anywhere else I've ever worked. And I'm extremely excited and very grateful that I got in touch with Catherine and BluEdge. And honestly, things have been moving very well thus far, and I'm excited to see how this first year here goes.
Nice. Especially coming from Be More.
Yeah.
Love. God.
Go 410.
Your survival skills, you come down there with survival skills. So if you get caught in a pinch, if you're in a dark alley, you're fine. You're not worried about a damn thing. You're from Baltimore.
Thank you for bringing that up, because y'all can't play with me.
There it is. There's that Be More. There's
Yeah.
that Be More coming out. Take the girl out of Baltimore. Can't take the Baltimore out of the girl.
I would have to say about BluEdge, so this is my first brokerage, and honestly, I feel like just regarding any type of sales job, you can meet a lot of people that are just, I don't know how better to put this, but like salesy, like, like
Not as invested.
yeah, like it's
Corporate douchebaggy,
yeah,
salesy.
it's very, there's no compassion, there's no empathy. It's just like, I want to make money and I'm going to let you know this. But I feel like literally everyone that works at BluEdge, it's like, you feel like how genuine and authentic they are. Like, there's just such a teamwork emphasis that I feel like everyone feels like we're all here for each other. We all want to make sure that we're successful. Like, even though, if Heather makes a commission and, I'm not going to make any money, I still want to make sure that she's successful,
Right.
because I feel like at the end of the day, it's like, if we're not all on the same page, if we're not all successful, then the brokerage is
Right.
going to have a hard time being that way. And
Right.
also, I feel like we stand out too because we are like people persons, like we want to get to I know, right? I messed that one up, but
No, you're perfect. It's
we
perfect.
want to get to know people. Like, we want to
Right.
know their life story. Like, it's not just about the commission. It's not just about getting another sale. It's like this is a huge deal for people. Like, why do you want to
Yeah.
move homes? Let me get to know you, because at the end of the day, I think that's the best way to make connections, and that's how you're going to be successful in this business, by caring about these people and
Right.
not just the money. So
Yeah.
I think to wrap it up, I think BluEdge definitely has an emphasis on that, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this brokerage, and I'm very excited to see what we're going to do this year.
I'd
You
agree.
heard it
Love
first from Morgan, the people's person's people person.
People, persons, people, persons, people.
Yeah,
Fantastic. Could not have said it better. Put it on a billboard.
You know what? Maybe I will.
Alvin, you got anything you want to wrap up with the girls?
No. I think they're both fantastic. I'm excited to work with both of them. I think you're both going to be extremely successful, and BluEdge they've been great with us. We've loved, the relationship that we've built with them. So, excited to grow together. And obviously we're here for you guys as a resource whenever you need us.
Right.
And Morgan, you can instill some of your laid back, beachy vibes into Heather. And Heather, you can teach her how to use a switchblade.
Yeah.
I'm teaching her. We went out yesterday, and I showed her the ropes a little bit. This is how we put bass in our chest, and this is how we walk with confidence. This is why we don't get touched in public.
She is now.
In all honesty, joking about the switchblade, I think that coming from where you come from, it's where I come from, it's where it is. I love Baltimore. Go Ravens! Big game this weekend. But
yeah.
you have it's in this process, you need somebody who can take the reins and get
Right.
people from point A to point B.
Right.
And that is something that from our, short time knowing each other, I think that I can take that you're somebody who is capable of doing that, which is extremely valuable in this industry. Because people left to their own devices, I want to buy a house.
Right.
And then it's just like they wander around and chase their tail for
Right.
6 months.
Right.
They need that driving force. So is it fair to say that that's a strong suit of yours?
For sure. I'm the biggest advocate of the best buyer is a prepared and educated buyer. So whatever resources we can get you, we need to be getting this all in line
100%.
a year ahead of time. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because when you're ready, you're going to be ready.
Right.
Right. Yeah. And sometimes people need that nudge to get them over the edge, right? They're standing there on the edge and they don't know if they should take a step or not, and they just need a little push,
Right.
and they'll, and then they thank you.
Exactly.
Like,
And
God, I
it's
never would have done this if I didn't, if you didn't motivate me to move forward. So,
Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
we're on the same page. But no, I was just going to say, especially as to Morgan's point earlier, best buyer is obviously an educated buyer. And then I trailed off. She said something, it came up to me, and then I just bunny trailed. So,
No, I was just gonna say too, I think that push also correlate or can also stem to that one piece of information that they don't have.
Yeah.
That
Sure.
could be that push that that's what was missing, and it's like, oh, really? I didn't know that. Let's get this going.
yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Dots connected.
Right.
Yeah.
Dots connected. Thank you, Adam.
1,000%. 1,000%.
All right, guys. Closing thoughts.
Thank you guys for having
Yeah.
us. This has been great. Y'all have been
Yeah.
phenomenal
So much fun.
hosts.
Well,
Good.
I can guarantee you this is the first time, but it certainly won't be the last time. So we're definitely going to have you guys on again.
Awesome.
We would love
So
that.
Yeah.
Those Florida market updates.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a little shit.
Only if we
So-
have 500 subscribers. So hit that link below and smash the like button.
That's it.
Needed it.
That's it.
Needed it.
Once again, not paid for or not asked for. That's straight from the heart. Straight from the
Speaking
heart.
of the algorithm, we're pushing 45 minutes. I don't know that they like that, so let's wrap it up.
It's been fun.
All right, ladies. Thank you, Alvin. I'll see you on the other side.
Sounds good.
Gentlemen.
See you girls. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Go Ravens.